Welcome to United Network News, the official news channel for CARE, the Center for Amity and Restoration of Earth. I'm Sunny Galt. At UNN, you get the real news. Through our field messengers, we show you the truth about what's really taking place in our communities. We also bring you stories to help you remember who you are and why you're here, as well as regional stories that impact the people. And our World Situation Report reveals what's happening throughout the multiverse. We are here to restore Earth. In the U.S., it is Friday, March 8th, 2024. In northern Minnesota, we're visiting the Paul Bunyan Trail. Surrounded by wildlife, this trail is a popular place for biking and hiking. And in Constanța, Romania, citizens are coming together to improve air quality and peace of mind. Learn more about their newly built park and plans to add more green spaces. In the new Earth, we're exploring our mind, body, and spirit. Today, we're taking a closer look at the body and its important role. Plus, playgrounds are changing around the world. Say goodbye to traditional structures with fixed equipment, and hello to natural spaces where children can imagine and explore.
This is Calen Gibb, messenger for United Network News. Here's a look at today's field messenger reports from all around the world. Paul Bunyan Trail, located in northern Minnesota, is a popular destination for biking and hiking enthusiasts. This multi-use trail runs more than 120 miles through beautiful forests, lakes, and small towns. UNN field messenger Chris delights in biking along this trail.
Hello, Chris here, field messenger for United Network News. I'm coming to you from the Paul Bunyan State Trail, and it's a 115-mile paved trail that starts from Crow Wing State Park and travels all the way to Lake Bemidji State Park, where that currently is where I am. I came to Bemidji, Minnesota for a visit. Right over my shoulder here is the mighty Mississippi. It starts at Lake Itasca, which is another state park, and winds its way through here. Paul Bunyan made its way, and Paul Bunyan and Babe are on the other shore of the lake. This is just a little small stretch of the trail. It's paved 115 miles, the longest one in the state. Over my shoulder here is Lake Bemidji. I thankfully lived on the north shore of this lake for about 7 years, and so I'd ride this trail as many times as I could on the way home, on my free time. But it's just an amazing thing to think about if you're ever visiting Minnesota. I thought I would be seeing the brilliant red maples that normally happen this time of the year, but there was like 90-degree temperatures and then storms and winds, and they didn't get time to like season into those brilliant reds you see, but still so beautiful in this area. Sending out love to you guys. Hope you're having an amazing day. Chris, field messenger for United Network News.
Constanța, Romania, a newly built park paid for by private funds, opens up new opportunities for the local and those visiting. UNN field messenger Monica shows us this new addition to the city.
Hi, I'm Monica from Constanța in Romania, field messenger reporting for UNN. Constanța is one of the most polluted cities in Romania. The city on the shores of the Black Sea has too few parks and green oases. For more than 2 decades, we have been helplessly witnessing the destruction of green spaces in Constanța. The parks were cut, the gardens next to the blocks were destroyed, turned into other blocks, built on any free space, even if it was green. Fortunately, Constanța finally has a new park, Ovidius Park, a beautiful park designed only with private funds, the authorities having no involvement whatsoever. A young lawyer, Gabriel Felician, together with the Constanța Restart Association, with the help of sponsors and volunteers who love nature and wanted a city with a lot of greenery, they all said to themselves that nothing is impossible, that faith will make it succeed. They managed to see that dream come true in 2 years. Yes, we found land. Yes, we found funding. Yes, the trees are fine and they don't dry out. University Park, the second park, will be open to all citizens of Constanța, but especially to the students from the university campus. There will be green areas over 10,000 square meters, playgrounds, basketball court, bicycle track, an outdoor amphitheater, food area, and much more. Thank you for watching.
We want you to become a UNN field messenger. These are everyday people just like you who want to make a difference in their community. You don't need any special training or equipment. Just use the camera on your mobile phone and show us what's happening in your area. You send us your videos and our production team will create the report for you. Our new website is now up and running at unitednetwork.earth. You can submit your Field Messenger reports directly through the Field Messenger tab at the top of the page. You can also email your reports to our new email address at fieldmessenger@unitednetwork.earth.
Hey, I'm Kirsten from Switzerland.
This is Wayne from Tucson.
Hi, my name is Desmond from Ghana.
I am Claudia from Dawsonville, Georgia.
I'm Mikey from Pretoria, South Africa.
Hi, I'm Steve McGrath, Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada.
People from all around the world are coming together.
Happy day, beautiful world. We are here in a rather small urban garden, and this video is just to show you the joys that we've had in this garden with electric gardening.
When news happens in their area, they show us what's really going on.
We have people in the streets protesting for and against.
At United Network News, our field messengers are changing the face of news.
This is Field Messenger Helen reporting with nature, and I'm going to talk to you about the bees again.
Take the next step in restoring our planet. Become a UNN Field Messenger today.
Hi, I'm Stephanie from South Africa. If it's going to be, it's up to me.
If it's going to be, it's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to me. It's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to all of us. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news.
Today, we're exploring the mind, body, and spirit, all of which are changing as we create the new earth. Pam Stillwell-Boone is an osteopath, kinesthesiologist, and holistic mind, body, spirit coach. Now, previously, Pam spoke with us about the importance of the mind. Today, we're focusing on the body, which is often overlooked. So Pam is back with us again, and previously Pam was on our New Earth series to talk about the mind. We talk about the mind, body, spirit. Mind is obviously the first word of that. But what about the body? Now, Pam, I love your take on this because I feel like so many people kind of neglect the body when it comes to exercise and being healthy that way. So tell us more about the body.
So like I was saying in the last one we just taped is I'm an osteopath, a kinesiologist, and a psychologist. So with my experience, I've realized that all three have to be in sync. And my background is physical fitness and kinesiology, and I love exercising. But like we were saying, most people don't exercise. And I do understand that we're all busy. But exercise is a pillar that we should all do, because being on a computer sitting down all day, that is not natural. What is natural is us moving our body and getting stronger. And because of age and women versus men, naturally we're going to start to lose that muscle tone. For women, it starts at 35. For men, it's a lot later. And this is where disease can start, because it's almost like we're getting a transition. We're getting weaker, therefore we're getting sicker. So exercise. We should at least be doing it 3 times a week, full body exercise routine. Now, it doesn't have to be crazy. Even if, like we talk, we go for a walk, we pick some hills, we get some strength in our legs. If you don't have time to do any type of workout, in the programs that I offer, we do Tabata and we do HIIT training. That is high interval, short bursts of energy. We do the full body, and we can do it all in 20 minutes. You can do your whole body and your body weight. Everybody can do a squat somewhere. Everybody should be able to push their body, their push-ups, and a lot of people can't. Now, different people get different prescriptions, and we could really get into that, but we won't do that in this segment because I want people to get empowered that anybody can exercise. However, it takes 21 days to start a routine, and a lot of people give up, and I'm going to say it on camera. It's not easy at first to get a routine of fitness because if you've never exercised before, you're going to be sore, and you're going to be sore sometimes for a week, and a lot of people will give up. But a soreness is lactic acid. It's actually a good thing because we're getting our muscles, we're creating little minute micro tears so that on the day that we don't exercise, we're eating healthy, we're drinking water, we're sleeping, those micro tears heal and we become stronger. But people are so afraid to push their bodies, like they won't jump, they won't push a weight because women don't want to get too big. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way. Body types, I'm a mesomorph, I can develop very quickly, but not everybody can. And that's not what we're talking about here. It's getting our bodies physically fit so that we can play with our children, so that we can play with our grandchildren, so that we can prevent injuries, so that we can make sure that as a female, when we start to lose our bone density, our muscles are strong enough to keep us in a good sense of balance, because after a while, we could start to fall. And that's what I see with my patients. They get into a certain age group and they break things because they don't even have a muscle to hold on to. And I just think that people are scared of exercise. They don't want to sweat. Women don't want to sweat. No, they don't want to go to the gym and sweat. And I'm like, why? You know, I don't wear makeup and that kind of stuff. And so many women put time into exterior stuff. And what they have to understand is the more physically fit you are, the younger you're going to look. So if you're looking for a younger look, well, guys, the exercise is going to do it. It's going to prevent disease. You're going to feel better. You're going to increase your serotonin. Everything is going to be balanced. Your body is going to start to heal. And if you're looking to look younger, you will start to look younger. And everything that I do, I don't want to complicate things. So I don't make my programs. You can do it in a square in your house, in the bathroom. You do not need a big area to exercise. You just need the will, a motivation, some great energy, and anybody can move and get their body strong.
In cities and towns around the world, a revolution is happening in how children play and learn outdoors. More and more playgrounds are being transformed into natural spaces where dirt, sand, and water encourage children to build, imagine, and explore. Unlike traditional playgrounds with fixed equipment, these natural spaces invite children to see a heap of sand as a castle, a boulder as a mountain, and abstract structures as anything from giant animals to alien spaceships. Children love the playgrounds because they like to push their limits and physical boundaries, making these spaces the perfect place for them to play and have fun. They're also developing crucial skills like problem solving, planning, and creative thinking, much needed abilities for the future. These naturally inspired playgrounds offer a gateway back to the adventurous and enchanting environments that inspire children to dedicate more time outdoors. The Apple Academy is part of the Eden Project in England, an expansive research and education center and home to the world's largest indoor rainforest. The Academy provides unemployed young people with hands-on experience by transforming locally grown apples into delightful dishes served to visitors. Under the expert guidance of the program's head chef, participants master the art of crafting apple-based treats such as crumble and chutney. They also discover the importance of teamwork and collaboration, enhancing their culinary and interpersonal skills. The staff believes food is a powerful medium to demonstrate what can be achieved when people come together. While the Apple Academy nurtures youngsters' culinary skills, they also offer the tools and support to help individuals find their place in the world. With a little help and guidance from the Apple Academy, unemployed young people have the opportunity to get work experience and gain career skills. Seaweed has been used in farming for generations, with farmers in Great Britain sharing stories of their grandfathers using it as a natural fertilizer. With rising costs and concerns over the environmental impact of synthetic fertilizers, seaweed is making a comeback. Seaweed farming involves cultivating and harvesting different seaweed types in a controlled environment, usually in the ocean. The process varies depending on the type of seaweed and its intended use, but it involves installing ropes or nets where the seaweed can attach itself and grow. The farms are often placed in areas with strong currents to ensure a steady supply of nutrients. In addition to providing a sustainable alternative to synthetic fertilizers, seaweed farming also has minimal impact on the environment. Unlike traditional agriculture, which can lead to soil degradation and water pollution, seaweed farming helps improve water quality by absorbing excess nutrients and pollutants. These gardens also provide new habitats for different types of sea creatures, such as sea otters, snails, urchins, and crabs. Seaweed is not limited to just being a fertilizer. It can also be used in food, cosmetics, clothing, construction material, and even as biofuel. We are United Network News. Every day, we release real stories from real people all over the world.
Field Messenger reporting from Gold Coast, Australia,
Denmark,
Canada,
Uganda,
from Atlanta, in Southern California.
In their own words, people like you share what's really happening in their area. At UNN, you are the news. You are creating a new world with infinite possibilities. You are the restoration plan. Come join us for the real news every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, only on United Network. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news. Now, a look at regional stories around the world. Thousands of people are marching throughout Colombia's major cities. The citizens aren't happy with their president's proposed reforms. The UK is eliminating a big tax break for the rich, but how does it impact average residents? Germany's busiest hub, the Frankfurt Airport, is closed due to a security staff strike, impacting thousands of flights. And in the U.S., a popular cooking ingredient, ground cinnamon, is found to have high amounts of lead. Thousands are marching in Colombia's major cities, voicing strong opposition to the president's proposed reforms in health, pensions, labor, and education. The demonstrations, largely peaceful, echoed concerns about potential negative impacts on the nation's stability and prosperity. Amidst chants of "No more Petro," citizens expressed fear that these changes might deepen poverty and inequality. Despite the opposition, the president maintains these reforms aim to benefit the most disadvantaged segments of society. Participants, waving flags and carrying signs, seek to protect what they see as Colombia's future against what they describe as misleading promises and detrimental policies. In Argentina, controversial images from Pinero prison showing inmates in degrading conditions have sparked intense debate. The photographs were released following a police search operation targeting drug traffickers. This move, however, has faced backlash from human rights groups and critics, highlighting concerns over potential abuses and the lack of increased security from such measures. Santa Fe, where the prison is located, has been struggling with a surge in gang-related violence, prompting frequent raids since the new governor took office. The actions are defended as necessary against the criminal orders allegedly issued from within the jail walls. Still, there's growing worry about the impact on the inmate population and the broader human rights implications in Argentina. More than 200 people in northeastern Nigeria, predominantly women and children from displacement camps, have been abducted by Islamic extremists. The victims, seeking firewood near the Chad border, were taken hostage, highlighting the dire situation in the Borno region, plagued by violence and insecurity. The ongoing violence in the region has led to thousands killed and millions displaced since 2009 due to the Boko Haram and its country. In Namibia, communities devastated by German colonial-era atrocities, including massacres and land seizures, are demanding new negotiations with Germany. Despite Germany's 2021 agreement, which includes 1.1 billion euros or $1.2 billion in development aid for 30 years and an official apology for the genocide, descendants argue this is and does not address the loss of ancestral land. They insist the apology should be directed to the affected communities, not the Namibian state, which didn't exist during the genocide. Critics say the 2021 deal, which funnels aid but avoids land restitution or direct reparations, falls short of genuine accountability. The Namibian and German governments are currently deliberating amendments to the joint declaration, including possible adjustment of the agreement's duration. Widespread protests have erupted in Poland against the European Union's Green Deal, a controversial environmental package drawing significant public attention. Demonstrators, including a significant number of farmers, argue that the environmental policies threaten their livelihoods, leading to tens of thousands taking to the streets in the capital. The protests saw dramatic scenes outside Parliament, with clashes between demonstrators and police, resulting in injuries on both sides. Protesters' displays include setting a symbolic coffin on fire and blockades on major freeways. The government has proposed banning grain imports from Russia and Belarus and reintroducing tariffs on Ukrainian food to protect local farmers. These measures aim to address the farmers' grievances and mitigate the impact of the Green Deal. The UK has announced the elimination of the non-domiciled tax status. This tax status previously allowed wealthy UK residents, not classified as permanent residents, to pay taxes solely on UK income, avoiding taxes on foreign earnings. This decision could lead to higher taxes for some residents, including high-profile individuals previously benefiting from the status. Additionally, a cut in national insurance rates by 2% is expected to provide some financial relief for workers. These measures come as part of the government's efforts to ease the intense cost of living crisis facing many households and alleviate strain on overstretched public services. Spain's privacy watchdog has temporarily halted WorldCoin's operations due to rising concerns over data privacy. The initiative, founded by OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, uses eye scanning technology to create digital IDs, rewarding participants with cryptocurrency. The Spanish Agency for Data Protection's decision follows complaints regarding the collection of minors' data and issues with withdrawing consent for data sharing. With more than 360,000 Spaniards registered, the suspension highlights increasing concerns about privacy and the potential abuse of personal data for activities such as targeted advertising. This controversy has sparked similar investigations in countries like France, Germany, and Kenya, raising critical concerns about the balance between innovative identification methods and the protection of individual privacy rights. Frankfurt Airport, Germany's busiest hub, remained closed to departing passengers on Thursday due to a security staff strike. The strike, organized by the Verdi Union, is part of a larger wave of industrial actions that also led to Germany's train drivers and Lufthansa's ground staff walking out. This comes as Europe's largest economy is struggling with high inflation and worker shortages, escalating tensions in wage negotiations. Travelers starting their journeys from Frankfurt on March 7th were advised to avoid the airport and stay in touch with their airlines. This disruption is the latest in a series of strikes affecting the travel sector across Germany. Ireland is holding a referendum on March 8th, which is International Women's Day, to update its 1937 constitution, which currently includes outdated language regarding women's roles in the home. This revision aims to reflect more contemporary societal values, including the elimination of language deemed sexist. The proposed change involves removing a clause that suggests a woman's contributions to the state come primarily through domestic life, and another that implies economic pressures should not force mothers to work outside of the home. This comes after Ireland's significant social shifts, including legalizing same-sex marriage and lifting abortion bans. Critics argue the proposed changes might not go far enough in shifting the caregiving responsibility from private families to state support. While there's a majority public support for the amendment, concerns about low voter turnout threaten its passage. Ireland is also planning to take a significant step forward, legalizing assisted death for terminally ill patients. An all-party parliamentary committee recommends legislation allowing individuals with 6 to 12 months to live due to an incurable, irreversible, and progressive illness the option of assisted dying. This move, expected to be reviewed by the government, could align Ireland with countries like Switzerland and Canada, where similar laws exist. The proposal has sparked a mix of responses. Advocacy groups praise the committee's compassionate stance, while religious leaders and some psychiatrists express moral and ethical concerns. If enacted, 2 doctors will need to confirm a patient's eligibility, ensuring a rigorous process. A large number of young and middle-aged individuals in India are seeking employment opportunities abroad, particularly in Israel. Despite concerns over safety due to the recent violence in the region, the prospect of higher wages and job security is driving Indians to participate in recruitment drives for labor-intensive positions. India's unemployment rate has seen fluctuations, with recent statistics indicating a slight improvement. However, for many, the domestic job market remains insufficient in offering viable livelihood options, compelling them to look overseas. Critics argue this exodus highlights the government's failure to generate adequate employment within the country, despite official claims of job creation and economic growth. The recruitment drive, aimed at meeting the high demand for labor in Israel, has attracted about 5,000 workers in its first phase, with more expected to follow. India has announced a significant extension of its cooking gas subsidy, positively impacting more than 100 million people across the nation. The decision comes as a relief to low-income households, especially ahead of the national elections. Previously, the government increased the subsidy twice last year to 300 rupees, which is less than $4, per liquefied petroleum gas cylinder as a measure to combat inflation. This comes as India, which imports about 60% of its cooking gas needs, faces a global surge in prices by more than 300% since April of 2020. Hong Kong's real estate market, notorious for its sky-high prices, is experiencing a significant downturn, leading to a surge in property foreclosures. Agents are expecting an uptick in such cases as landlords face challenges in refinancing, prompted by years of poor market performance and elevated interest rates. Recent measures by the city to rejuvenate the market, including the removal of additional stamp duties, have led to a surge in transactions. However, the consequences are felt deeply by individuals and businesses alike as properties are being sold at significantly reduced prices. This downturn has tangible effects on individuals who are losing assets and investments, highlighting the broader impact of the property market's instability on Hong Kong's residents and business owners. In Turkey, a surge in femicides has sparked widespread concern and calls for increased protections for women. Last year, at least 403 women were killed, many by intimate partners or family members. This year, the nation witnessed a shocking single-day high, with 7 women murdered on February 27th. The deaths highlight a broader issue of gender-based violence fueled by patriarchal norms and resistance to women's growing demands for independence and equality. Critics argue the country's efforts, including legislative changes and promises of increased protections, are insufficient. Activists and family members of victims argue for stronger enforcement of protective laws and measures, such as a dedicated hotline and increased shelters for women facing violence. Protesters in Mexico City demanding justice for the 2014 disappearance of 43 students breached the presidential palace's security on Wednesday while the president was inside. The incident, stemming from lingering frustrations over the lack of accountability and progress in the investigation, escalated as protesters used a truck to force entry, leading to the use of tear gas by police. The situation calmed down later and the area secured with the protesters outside. Addressing the incident, the president pledged to continue the investigation while criticizing the protesters and accusing rights groups of manipulation, claims for which he provided no evidence. The human rights group representing the families disavowed the aggressive methods of some protesters while emphasizing the need for open dialogue with the government. Cuba faces a severe energy crisis, resulting in widespread power outages across the country. The government has cut public lighting by almost 75% during peak hours to manage the shortage, impacting the daily lives of its citizens. Residents from different provinces report suffering through 6 to 12-hour blackouts each day, disrupting work and making the heat unbearable. The scarcity of essentials like fuel, with only 46% of planned imports received, aggravates the situation. Local businesses and families struggle with preserving food as extended outages cause food spoilage. Rising minimum wages and inflation are putting a strain on independent restaurants and their customers across the United States. With the minimum wage rising in 22 states and inflation skyrocketing, small business owners are facing the tough choice of raising prices or struggling to make ends meet. The labor market tightness and competition from gig economy jobs are further complicating matters for restaurants trying to keep their doors open. Despite these challenges, major fast food chains seem to be faring better, thanks in part to their ability to mass produce food at a lower cost. Meanwhile, families are feeling the strain as the cost of eating out has increased significantly. The nationwide inflation spike, up 18% since January of 2021, is impacting both businesses and consumers, making it hard for many to keep up with the rising cost of living. Federal health officials have issued a warning about ground cinnamon sold at several U.S. dollar discount retailers. They say it's contaminated with high levels of lead, posing a health risk, especially to children. The U.S. Drug and Food Administration, or the FDA, has highlighted brands such as La Fiesta, Markham, MK, Squad, El Chilar, and Supreme Tradition, advising consumers to stop using these products and to throw them away immediately. Prolonged exposure to lead can lead to significant health issues, including learning disabilities and reduced IQ in children. Retailers like Dollar Tree and Family Dollar have removed the affected cinnamon from their shelves, offering refunds to customers. This alert follows a recent FDA investigation after an incident where cinnamon applesauce pouches contaminated with lead affected nearly 500 children. No health issues related to the cinnamon have been reported yet.
Tired of being programmed? At United Network, you'll discover the truth about what's really happening on our planet. Get instant access to our written news, UNN newscasts, world situation reports, and in-depth stories from our field messengers. Manifest your amazing abilities as we explore the new Earth. Plus, original series to inspire and encourage you throughout your day. Get connected through United Chat, our personal chat room where you can join the conversation, share your experience, and also submit your questions for Kim. Watch United Network at home or on the go through your computer, favorite online streaming program, or mobile apps.
Welcome to United Network News.
Start your free trial today. UnitedNetwork.Earth, bringing people together.
And now, the World Situation Report with Kimberly Gogan from the Office of the Guardian. Apples to apples and dust to dust. What did the apple in the Garden of Eden really represent? Knowledge and wisdom are not the same thing. The mythical golden apple is real. How did the deep state use it against all of humanity? How was it connected to the tree of life, the book of life, and so much more? Vincent, the current leader of the anti-silent circle, played with fire and got burned. Another one bites the dust. All this and more in today's World Situation Report. Now here's Kimberly Gogan with the Office of the Guardian, joining us live. Nice to see you, Kim.
Good to see everybody again. Good to see you, Sunny.
Yeah. Happy Friday. How are things going?
Yeah, happy Friday. Not too bad. It's been a really busy couple of days, as it always is.
Yeah.
Lots going on in the world, but I had some things I wanted to explain to you so you can kind of understand the big change that took place overnight last night.
Okay.
And for those of you in the U.S., you probably started to feel it later on in the afternoon, early evening last night. And for those of you, of course, in like Australia and that part of the world, it would have been early morning your time. So kind of exciting stuff.
Okay.
So we have some things to talk about. So you've heard of, I'm sure, the tree of life.
Yes.
And you probably somewhat heard on the internet about an anti-tree of life.
Mm-hmm.
So there were dueling trees of life in the multiverse.
Okay.
Now, if you were to look at the tree, you would actually see, you know what? I just thought about this. I can actually draw this out for you. I have something exciting for you guys. Here, take a look at this. Look at that. I know.
We're
Look at that.
digital.
You want to get digital?
Let's get digital.
I know. And now we can both be here while we talk. Isn't that cool? So as this says, look at this. We have a new whiteboard, everyone. Very exciting. And I don't know where that other thing came from, but this is my first time using it. So we're just going to go with it. WH equals Eitboard. Eit. I know, so exciting. And I can just wipe it clean and I don't need a marker and I don't need anything. Don't need an eraser.
Beautiful.
I know. Much, much better. Okay, so let's talk about the multiverse here. We're going to draw this out.
Yeah.
Okay. So we would have had a tree of life with many, many branches. that extended throughout every density, every dimension, and to every being. And we had the same down below. And this would be the third density here, in between here.
Okay.
Oops. Can't even write on this. Jeez, Kim. Okay. Okay, and 2 and 1, 1 and 2. So 2 and 1 and 1 and 2 would be inside here.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would have had the anti-tree of life. So in the beginning of the creation of the universe, we had beings called the immortals. And the immortals were what you would call angels and archangels, rulers of the realms, these types of things. And there were millions below and millions above. And each one received a golden apple. What was the golden apple actually? So the golden apple was filled with wisdom and the gift of source. So you could call it wisdom, you can call it in part love, the love of source, and you can later on down the road, some of the apples became knowledge. So as the above, so is below, both sides received the golden apples.
Was it actually an apple, or I mean, did it look like an apple?
It was a crystal. It was a crystal in the shape of, I guess you would say, it wasn't actually a crystal apple, but it was a round ball, but everybody called it the apple.
Okay. All right.
So as you would take a part of the knowledge, well, let me go back to the trees here for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So in talking to try to figure out what these were about, because it became a real big issue in the last few days, Source basically said the apple doesn't fall that far from the tree. Funny guy, jolly jokester always. And what he was referring to is if you imagine the tree of life and the tree of anti-life being directly connected to, like, that would be Source's veins throughout the multiverse, for lack of a better term, where the blood of Source, the essence, energy, consciousness, matter, wisdom, love, and crystalline time would flow throughout the multiverse. And then, of course, the opposite of that in the lower astral, the apples originally were attached to the tree. So even though the immortals or the angels on both sides, however you call them, they were still attached to the tree. Mm-hmm. Now, once you disconnected that apple from the tree, the life inside the apple would begin to dwindle, just as you would if you disconnect an apple from an apple tree, the life in the apple begins to dwindle. It no longer has life to it. It falls to the ground and eventually it rots. So the deep state had, and I would say a deep connection with the lower astral immortals. And when they disconnected from the tree of life, the apples eventually went barren and went dark. Mm-hmm. And this birthed what you would call the tree, as you know in the Bible, as the tree of knowledge.
Okay.
Versus wisdom. So knowledge and wisdom are two very different things, because now we're going to go into human history after this. So knowledge and wisdom are two very different things. Wisdom is your intuition, your innate knowing. Wisdom only comes from Source. It is ever abundant and ever flowing, and it never stops once you connect to your wisdom, your inner knowing, your higher self, whatever you want to call it. It's direct wisdom from Source, and it will never steer you wrong. Mm-hmm. If you want to know how to make something, you want to know how to do something, you want to know how to heal yourself, you want to know how, apparently I'm flashing, you want to know how all of these things happen, you can get the answer to anything when you are seeking the wisdom of Source. The one thing you can't do with wisdom is you can't do dark and evil things with wisdom. It will never give you the answer on how to blow up a country, how to take over a planet, how to destroy people, how to kill people. That is not what it's designed to do. It will give you all the wisdom of all things natural in the world and in the multiverse. So once the apples were disconnected, all of the apples on both sides began to dim because the wisdom from source became disconnected from the apples. That left only knowledge. Knowledge is information that is passed from one being, one person, to another. It's historical records. It's what you find on the internet 99.99% of the time. There are people that impart wisdom through the internet, and I understand that. But everything we quote unquote know, that we are fed through our media, that we are fed through all the other channels, is knowledge. You are acquiring knowledge, because with wisdom, you don't need any knowledge.
Right.
You have all the wisdom. Knowledge doesn't create anything new. It merely passes information on. So, how cool is that? I'm just telling you, that's really cool. Okay, so let's start talking about humans. So in the beginning of human history, we have books like the Bible that tell us that Eve ate of the tree of good, the knowledge of good and evil. So the knowledge of good and evil, which one was which one did what, came from one of the apples of knowledge. Not the apples of wisdom, because at that point it was already dark. And that's why they say the serpent convinced her to eat of the tree. This is real history. They are still doing this to this day. Okay, so for the longest time, the deep state has had in their possession, more importantly, the anti-silent circle, has had in their possession what you would call an apple of knowledge, okay? Ooh, we don't want to give that any gold color, do we? Here we go. Do you remember me saying, and I've said it countless times, that they read through these old texts and they can't, and I'm like, why are they still reading that? That makes no sense, because everything has changed. Yeah. Why would they not know that everything has changed? Yeah. And we figured it out. It's because the apples were tied directly to something called the books of knowledge. So the books of knowledge, in this particular case, are books that contain information which came from the apple. They're almost semi-holographic. They are written in a light language and also an anti-light language, because they both look kind of the same. You would call it the language of the immortals or the language of the angels, depending on how you look at it. Now, the books of knowledge is where they're getting all this ridiculous information from, because remember, knowledge does not change. It is information only that's passed from one being, be it lower astral, a demon, whatever it is, to another. It does not change like wisdom changes. If you are in a particular circumstance, you'll gain the wisdom or the intuition to make a change. Now, that circumstance could change. Like, for example, say that you decided to start a new job and the job wasn't what they told you it was, and then you would get more wisdom on where to look for your next job. Like, This is just examples. How to raise your kids. Your kids are human beings. They have sovereign will. They change. One day it might be great to, tell them not to do something in this way, and the next day you might have to do it a different way, or teach them math in a different way, or the world is constantly changing. The multiverse is constantly changing. It doesn't stay the same. So now it makes perfect sense to me why they keep reading these old texts. And I'm like, but that's not even there anymore. Why are they still looking for this alignment? Why do they think the full moon, the new moon? Because the books of knowledge can only repeat old data. It does not get any new data. Where I'm over here getting the wisdom, I'm like, I'm scratching my head. I'm like, why are you doing the same thing? Now it makes perfect sense. So along with the books of knowledge, we also had, now both in anti-source and to some lesser degree, the immortals, and to some even lesser degree, information being passed to our global deep state. And this would be the book of evil. And along with that, the book of death.
Lots of books.
They got lots of books. Yeah. See, this is why they think they're so smart, because they had all of these different libraries that they felt were from the immortals, and therefore they had more information than all of the rest of humanity.
Well, I mean, it is information. It's just wrong information.
Because it's all knowledge-based information.
Yeah. Okay.
So the book of evil would record things like evil deeds and these types of things. And I'm going to tell you about you in a second, so you'll kind of grasp the concept. And the book of death would have been all about the death of the human, the death of the soul, the death of the vessel, because remember, only Source gives eternal life.
Right.
And nothing ever happens to the soul. But when they created the incarnation cycle, and we would go through the cycle over and over and over again, that created the need for a book of death. Now, both the books of evil and the book of death was connected to the anti-tree of life. I hate to say life because it's actually live and then therefore the tree of evil. So on our side of it, us being organic beings, I'm assuming all of you watching this are that, and you're not with these people. And if you are, then I'm sorry, you're on the wrong side of the fence today. Okay, so we have a book of life.
Or live.
And we also have a book of life.
Okay.
Whoops. So we also have a book of life and a book of live on our side of it. We don't have any books of knowledge, unfortunately, but we do have a book of wisdom.
Now, Kim, just to clarify, are the apples on our side, are they still on the tree or did they fall as well?
Well, all of them fell except for one. And that last one was at Source.
Okay.
Now, there's been a long, drawn-out, centuries-old fight to gain control of the last remaining working apple. So they have been running around the multiverse looking for apples with any kind of life or live left in it, or wisdom left in it, forever. And this is not just the humans in the deep state. This is also the lower astral beings. Everybody wants an apple with a little bit of wisdom left in it. So the anti-silent circle, or your black nobility families, and some of the other deep state members had obtained apples, which there were about 5, which only retained knowledge at that point. They were completely devoid of any wisdom.
Right.
So they've been looking for the one golden apple forever that will then light up the rest of the apples, billions and millions of apples throughout the multiverse, and reattach those apples to the tree of life. But that's only a divine decision. That's only a Source decision, or anti-source. But now we just have one. We have Source. So what happened yesterday, it became time, because the fabric of the multiverse has been reweaving itself. It became time, and it was okay because I panicked a little bit about this too when he said it's time to reconnect the apple to the tree of life, because it had been separated from the tree of life. That's the main source apple of wisdom.
Okay.
And then it will be time to connect all the apples throughout the entire multiverse. Now you can see why I panicked. Back to the actual tree of life and not to a tree of anti-life. So now you can see, I mean, we don't have anybody living down there anymore, but we still have crazy humans on this planet. So I panicked. I said, you sure it's time? He said, oh, yes, it's time. So, okay. So this is what started happening yesterday, midday my time. The apples started reconnecting to the tree. Now, the order and their chosen one, Mr. Vincent, and I'll just use his first name for this. He's dead now anyway, but I'll just use his first name for this, was so excited. He goes, she gave us back the apple. And they thought I was tricked. They thought, oh, look, it's going to now give us the wisdom too. No, it doesn't work that way, because the wisdom is written in a different language. Number one, it's written in the light language, and it's not something that they would understand. And the orders only come from source. So it's not going to give them power. If anything, it takes away their power, because the apples are ours. They are instructions they are wisdom from source and how to fix the planet, how to live within natural law. And by law, don't confuse human law with nature.
Right.
You know, a plant grows, it goes dormant in the wintertime. You know, leaves come back in the spring. These are all parts of nature. This is how nature works. We study nature. We study the human body, which isn't natural at this point in time. We study all of these things to understand how it's just a perfect balance when it's not interrupted by something that is the opposite. Our science does not run on wisdom. It runs on knowledge, because it was created by the deep state for us to understand.
Right.
And to accept the limitations of knowledge and what little knowledge they actually gave us from the books of knowledge. So last night, I mean, my alarm started going off, and I'm like, what is going on here? So Mr. Vincent started going, we now have the power. We will have the wisdom of the world because I have the apple, and, you know, all of these types of, oh God. And they planned some more ceremonies on the mountains of Montenegro. I will open the gateway and the immortals will come back and help us. And, you know, oh God, it was awful. It was actually hilarious. I gotta say, I was like, okay, source, you said. So it wasn't until 4:00 a.m. this morning, my time, when I got woken up like a shot, because these guys started realizing the books didn't contain more knowledge, because that's all they ever knew.
Yeah.
The books didn't contain messages from the immortals. The books had my name on them. And the instructions were for me.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. And that sent everybody into a full-on panic this morning. Vincent, however, thought that he could actually use the apple, which was now live, for himself. However, it actually worked the opposite way, and it meant his demise. You cannot not follow the orders of source. They're my books. He said they're my books. Those are my apples. Those are not your apples. And when someone tries to use the apples for something that is not in the instructions, and you are not the person they belong to, they've been given to, then it is ultimately your demise. You can't deny it. There's nothing they can do to change that fact. When the divine makes a decision to do something, then it is so. So my job is not to own all the apples. My job is to distribute those apples to all of you, organic humans, to regain the wisdom of source.
Wow.
Now, that stream began to flow here on Earth at about 4 a.m. Mountain Standard Time today. So the stream is now, it's a stream. It's not a river. It's not a, but over time, it'll start getting larger and larger and larger, and there is no shortage of wisdom. So human beings will now have the direct wisdom of source. Now, do you know how nervous that makes the deep state?
Oh, pretty nervous, I would imagine.
Oh, pretty nervous. Yes, pretty nervous. But you'll have your own world wide web of information if you just listen. Now, listening is up to you. I mean, how many times have we?
Oh, sorry, Cam. I was just going to say, and you're probably going to explain this, but how do you access that wisdom then? Is it through the same ways we're already connecting with Source? It's just going to be stronger?
Yes.
And okay.
It'll be stronger. It'll be easier. The messages will come in depending on how you do that. Everybody is different. Everybody makes that connection differently. For some of us, it's just that voice in the back of your head that says, oh, I forgot to do this morning, right when you're waking up or as you're going to sleep. And so for some of you, it's strong intuition. Do not go there today. Do not take that job. Something better will come along. And even when your logical mind wants to go, no, I need a job. I need this. I can't do that. I'm too old for that, or I'm too this for that. I'm too young to go there. Whatever it is, it's your own physical self that stops you from following the wisdom of Source and having ultimate faith.
Okay.
So as you start connecting to more and more wisdom, you'll start to understand how nature works. And then that makes the restoration plan easier. It is actually going to define what you're supposed to do. So if you have been confused as to what you're supposed to do as part of the restoration of Earth, I am not the information booth at the mall. You will have to get your direct wisdom from Source, and you're going to have to work at it for some of you. But being reconnected to live and life changes everything for you. You now don't need an actual physical object called a book. You are the book. You have a direct connection to the writer of the book. That's you. They talk about judgment in the book of life, at the end of life, so to speak, but there is no more end of life. Yes, people are still dying on earth. Your physical body goes away. Your soul never does. Your soul is immortal. It is the immortal part of yourself. Eventually, we'll figure out how to repair your bodies, and self-repair your bodies. And as I said, we're getting closer and closer to that time when things are going to really start changing here for the physical vessel and the physical self. But the scariest part about it is that the deep state received no wisdom for what they wanted it for.
And they realized that, right, Kim? That was obvious.
Oh, yes, they have realized that. It has been quite a morning for me. Let me just tell you that for sure. So the apples exist throughout history. You can find them in Greek mythology when Ares, do you remember me talking about Ares several months back and who that was? She was the opposite. So Ares, through the apple of, I think they called it in Greek mythology, despair or distraught or something like that. I don't remember exactly. And she threw it at, I think it was one of the gods' weddings or something, and then brought them eternal, troubles and turmoil in their marriage or something like that. There's also a Russian mythology story about the golden apples. There is obviously the apple in the Bible. I mean, there's an apple that everybody knows. So there's a lot of information out there about it. Another appropriate movie that you might want to watch that tells you a little bit more about apples would be called Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed talks about how the Templars were hunting for the apples throughout the ages. They even started taking some of the bloodline that were the protector of the apples of wisdom in life, and they started putting them through past life regression machines so that they could find the apple, because they just needed an apple that still had wisdom.
Okay.
Yep. So now you can't use the saying the apple falls not too far from the tree anymore about yourself. You are actually part of the tree once again and reconnected. So I'm hoping that you'll start to see a difference. I know that I saw a difference. I felt a difference last night over what I had been feeling for the last couple of days as far as, different things that were going on. And it just felt like sometimes there's only so much cleaning and clearing of things you can do until something new and exciting comes along. Yeah. So I'm excited to share that with you today. In more of the, let's just say, normal people sense, we are seeing the Federal Reserve ties to banks and ties to your money dissipating even further as of this morning. So the Federal Reserve still had no access to the bank's accounts that used to be held within them, known as your routing numbers, your IBAN numbers, your Target 1 and Target 2 systems, depending on where you are in the world, your SWIFT systems. And those were all completely disconnected. Therefore, the Federal Reserve couldn't see anything anymore. And all of the closed loops that were in the Federal Reserve, which were tied to each individual bank on tiers 1 through 9, moved down to the bank level. And then the banks tried to continue on with the custody of all its client accounts. And then that disappeared also this morning. And so now you pretty much are your own island unto yourself, electronically speaking, as of about 45 minutes ago at the time of this recording. So those closed loops, each account in the bank, are now connected by key integrated monetary system rails, which can still appear as regular ACH transfers. We don't want everybody to panic. We can change it at some point in time. Mm-hmm. So now you're moving money amongst yourselves without the cooperation, for the most part, of a bank. Now, if you call a bank and you walk into a teller window and you say, I need to withdraw cash from my account, they can perform that function. If you say, I'd like to send a wire transfer because you don't like to use the online portal for that, or your bank doesn't have that function, you can go into the bank and the person can help you with that function. So they'll still have that type of access to service, because remember, the option for banks to survive was to become a service provider to you, and then we, meaning the Alpha system, would pay the banks for providing the service to all the humans. Right. Now, they can choose to do that or choose not to do that. It's just going to cause a little bit of disruption in places where walking into the bank and getting cash is a lot more frequent than going to an ATM machine and getting cash, or other electronic features, because those are things we can control. We can't control what banks do. But as far as stopping us, part of this in the news I talked about, I think it was last Wednesday. I think Wednesday I talked about it. This is what we were seeing in density 1, plane 1, 3, 2, and 1. And these are the things that are being pulled apart. So it's been a really bad 48 hours for the cabal, and very disappointing that I didn't do this for them. Now, yeah. I'm sorry, it's just, again, these are orders and instructions. They come from one place, contrary to popular belief, and then we all make a group effort to carry them out. And by all, I mean we all. Everybody watching this now will get their own set of instructions. You can choose to follow them or not follow them. Some of them might seem crazy and outlandish, and you need to do this. And it's going to sound, why would I go there and why would I stand on that street corner at 5 o'clock today? Why would I do that? Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you go there and something transpires. You meet the love of your life. Maybe you're a witness to a car accident and you're a doctor and you need to help somebody at that time in that place. This is wisdom. This is intuition. This comes directly from source. So when I say we all need to follow the instructions, I'm talking about all of you too. Mm-hmm. If you want to restore this planet, you need to follow the instructions that come from wisdom, intuition, your inner knowingness, not knowledge. And knowledge oftentimes will go contrary to wisdom. Mm-hmm. The wisdom that is innate within yourself may prove contrary to what you see on the internet. As an example, how do I explain everything that I've read about growing tomatoes says absolutely do not plant them next to the rosemary. I'm not saying that that's the case, but there is a certain when you plant your garden, but you're telling me that it's okay to do that now, as long as I position them in this way. Okay, but everything I read on the internet tells me that that is not true. But you go with your gut and you have the largest harvest of tomatoes you've ever had in your life. And then it'll become easier and easier to follow. And sometimes you start, and I've done this too, especially in the beginning. I promised myself I would never go against my intuition ever again, and I would never go against the wisdom ever again. And this was several years back. Because every time I did, I want to think the best of people sometimes. I want to think, oh, give this person a chance, or, oh, he's not that bad of a guy, the guy you're dating, and you know it in your heart, and everything in your body is telling you no, but you do it anyway, or the woman you're dating, or whatever it is. And you go against that, and ultimately it ends up probably worse than it would have been if you just stopped it on the second date, or you had just planted the tomatoes in that section. Does it really matter? If you didn't get the right, maybe plant them in both sections if you don't trust your own intuition, and see which one works. Yeah. You can trust the internet and the knowledge, or you can trust yourself and your inner wisdom, because it doesn't lie. Those that are readers and psychics that trusted in the knowledge won't have those skills anymore. Those of you that are on the light side and you are gaining wisdom, the wisdom never falters. If you're helping people by passing on wisdom, then when you go to do what it is you do and you're helping, maybe there's times in people's lives where they like to visit. I hate to use the term psychic because I wouldn't say that. People that are connected to source, that are might be more connected than the average everyday person, have had that connection since birth, and maybe for others they struggle, so they come to someone like you to gain the wisdom for them. So you ask source, what kind of wisdom do you want to pass to Mary or Fred or whoever's sitting in front of them? And then the wisdom comes through and you pass the wisdom on to that person. But then again, wisdom is ever changing and ever flowing. And it changes with the way the direction of the energy, the consciousness, the world moves. Should I go on vacation on this day? How many people are going on vacation? How many people live in that vacation spot? How many people could be affected by you going on vacation there, or giving a seminar, or creating a product, or, whatever it is that you tend to do in the future. The wisdom will constantly tell you how to change your business, change your model. Knowledge just tells you what everybody else did. It's the same thing with schools. How are schools going to change in the future? What do you see happening then if your child has all the wisdom they want? Now that's going to be scary for us parents, isn't it? A little bit, just a tiny little bit. But they have the wisdom. There's often times people say, out of the mouths of babes. How many times have your children come out and given you a whammy that turned out to be right? Because it's not convoluted with the knowledge. Your logical brain kicks in when you start going to school. This is why schools were designed this way, to stop your wisdom, because kids will eventually stop trusting it. Yep. And then they only trust the knowledge. And knowledge was only in part or allowed to be leaked out to the average everyday person through education, educational classes. Now, think about all the ways we use knowledge in our average everyday lives in trying to define what is really going on in this world. What's really going on with governments? We're still looking for knowledge. You're not looking for wisdom, and you're not looking into your instinct as to what's really happening. And once you do, then you'll understand the difference. You'll go online and you'll start reading it, and it will actually make you physically not feel well. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a lot of people watching this that happens to all the time. You physically feel ill when you come across something, and it's even becoming more and more prevalent. I know it is in my life. There was a time 15 years ago that I could eat some Doritos. I cannot eat Doritos now. I cannot do it. I mean, I can taste chemicals in it. I can taste what is in that food. And everything tells me to walk away from it. I can't even stand the smell of it anymore. Yeah. That doesn't mean I'm not, how do I say this? I'm not judging anyone that eats Doritos. I just personally cannot do it. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of other things, that people do that I just like, oh, never. Like, I cannot do that. Like, that's not my thing. Like, cannot do that. Contrary to popular opinion. But anyway, the point is that things are changing. And I know for some of you, it doesn't feel like it's fast enough. But if you just go within, follow your intuition, follow your own guidance, not mine, not Sunny's, not, don't get me wrong. We love having you here, and we love helping you as best we can. But really, the last leg of it is up to you. Yeah. So do we see a run on the banks? No. Based on the changes that happened this morning. What about the markets? There have been several attempts for them to crash the markets, especially once they found out about the Apple. Mm. But I said, oh, sorry, guys, that's not your Apple. Well, actually, I didn't even say that. The divine said that. So the instructions are for restoration. The instructions are for all of you that can read the book. The book can be read from anywhere in the world. You can connect to that book like you would connect to anything else telepathically, through meditation, connecting to source, or you just connect directly to source and you don't need to see a book. But if you feel, some people like to see an object, right? So they meditate on that object, and then that object, appears and they can see it, or a place or a person. Mm-hmm. And if that's you, then, feel free to do it however you like. But to connect to the book of life and the book of life is yours, and the book of wisdom. They're out there, they're yours. They're not mine. I have a part of it, sure, and mine isn't any greater than yours or less than yours. I just have a job to fulfill. You also have a job to fulfill for Source, and for yourself. In other words, everybody has a passion, something they live for, something they love to do, and that is your job. That's it. The thing you're the happiest doing in this world. It doesn't matter what you're making or cooking or baking or flying or whatever it is, or creating a whole new aircraft or a whole new system or inventing some new technology that's going to cure X or Y or Z. That's your passion. Whatever you wake up every day and you are the happiest you've ever been, and you're feeling the love of Source when you're doing it, that's it. That's your job on this planet. And it might to you seem, well, look at what Kim's job is and Sunny's job is. What's my job? Like, oh, look, I'm just making, soap or something. But you're changing the way people take care of themselves. You have to not think about tasks being small. And then maybe you evolve that into adding some ingredients that can help cure people of problems through their skin, instead of antibacterials that take away all the good bacteria from your skin too. Like, we need to teach people a whole new way of everything, in a natural way of doing things. What is that? So stop paying attention to knowledge. Don't get me wrong, sure, there's some great ways you can make chicken piccata online, 15 different ways from Sunday. That's lovely. If you want to get a recipe or something like that, fine. But as far as how your life goes, your life choices, things that no one can impart that onto you. Now let's talk about, someone had brought up to me about being an older older folks, they're in their 70s, and they said, well, what do? You have wisdom. You have wisdom and life experience. Wow, that's really cool. So everybody has a part to play in the restoration plan. If you are here on Earth at this time, this is for you, and you have a job to do. You can still have sovereign will and choose not to do that job. You can say, I hate being happy every day. That's your choice. I can't make you do it. I'm not going to try to make you do it. I'm not mom.
Kim, do we have any indication of what the other side, the deep state, so to speak, could do or might do with this information now, based on stuff you've seen this morning? You said it was kind of a crazy morning. What do you think is going to happen at this point?
Well, over the course, by about 6 a.m. my time, they had figured out those are not your apples. The Silent Circle knows what that is, full well and good. They've been hunting them down for eons. They have seen a lot of changes take place, both in AI systems, also throughout Earth. Things that they could detect in the past are not detectable. They're not there anymore. Montenegro is not a post, and hasn't been for a long time, for Abraxas communication. They thought, well, our books are broken. Our books are broken. And they start shaking them. The books are broken. And then they all go to Montenegro like they're going to get a better connection. The Wi-Fi signal's better over there, to the lower astral or something. I don't know, but they're definitely seeing what they're doing is not working. So just before I got on the news, pretty much everybody looked like this. Is there anything left that she hasn't taken? How long before she has it all is what they said. Now, it's not me that has it all.
Yeah.
It's just that I have
humanity.
the wisdom to change it.
Yeah. It's us. Right.
It's us. Because that's my job. If I don't do my job, I also lose the wisdom.
Right.
So, and I'm not willing to do that for you guys. So, no, I'm just kidding. I will do everything I'm asked, even when it sounds crazy. Okay, I
was just going to say, was this the apples coming back? Was it kind of a buildup? Because one thing that I have noticed over the last week is just lots of messages from source, like boom, 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 but like way more than I normally get. And I wasn't sure if that was needed for me at that time based on things I was going through. So I'm wondering, was there a ramp up to this, or was it just like, boom, okay, your apples are back?
Well, as the dark consciousness goes away, it becomes less like, and I've been saying this for months now, that, before you were kind of like wading through a sea of mud, and you could kind of hear it like on the surface, of the water, so to speak, but it's not 100% clear as day all the time. Sometimes it is. Energy is an ebb and a flow. Sometimes it might feel like, well, I can connect today, like boom. And other days it's like, I can't hear a thing. Source, are you still home? And it just depends on the amount of energy, the amount of consciousness, dark consciousness in the past. But as all that starts clearing away more and more and more, you're not wading through mud to get those messages anymore.
Okay. That makes sense.
So you'll start to hear them and see them a lot more often. And the other thing that's happening too is people don't always like what Source has to say, apparently. And the other thing is, when you're faced with more light, the more light that shines on something, the clearer you see it. And that also includes yourself. And people are not liking to look at themselves sometimes in a source mirror. It's also the reason why what we find is, how do I say this? Say there's a person in your life, and you are a little bit more awake and aware than, most people are, obviously. And this person comes into your life, and you're not ready to look at yourself. But they might be, glowing aura. They might be an amazing person, totally connected to source or from a higher density, and have come here, because we're starting to see more and more of those folks walking around too. So what happens subconsciously, even when you look at that person, you are forced to see everything that you are. And they know that person can see everything that you are because they're that connected. And that's really scary for some people. And then they start to throw stones at those people because they don't want to look. They do not want to look. Remember a while ago I said 95% of the people in this world will blame their problems on someone else?
Yep. So true.
And it continues. Yep. Mm-hmm. And it continues. Well, we're going to have to accept that sovereign responsibility at some point in time. At some point in time, you're going to have to look at yourself. You're going to have to take yourself and love yourself like Source loves you for all the things you are and all the things you're not and all the things that are within you and all the things you've done in the past, and just realize that they're like a parent. Source is like a parent. You might not like what your kids are doing right now, but you love them unconditionally regardless.
Yeah.
And it's not so bad to look at yourself. It's not so bad to accept responsibility for maybe not knowing something, maybe not understanding something, maybe making a bad judgment call which could have affected another human. It's okay to say I was wrong. And I will get on here if there's something that I found out later is not true, or that it's not completely gone, and I will tell you I was wrong. I had no idea that there was more to this or that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
I'm human. In this world, I'm a human. You all might be from somewhere else, but today you're a human.
Mm-hmm.
And that being a human's not so bad. And enduring all we've had to endure to exist here, to just exist and have a little bit of happiness in life, has been pretty rough. So give yourself a break. Give yourself a break. And stop looking at the knowledge and the books that people put out that tell you that Source is going to hate you for doing this, or, maybe a failed pregnancy or something like that. Like, don't stop. Just stop. You're the one being hard on you, and you're the one that thinks you don't deserve wisdom because you did X, Y, Z because the book said I'm not supposed to do that.
Right.
No one on this earth has walked a mile in your shoes. No one. Only you have walked in your shoes. You've experienced all the things you've experienced, both positive and negative and sad and happy moments in your life, and maybe life lessons you might call a mistake in your life. But I can tell you right now, you can still walk home to Source at any given moment in time. He will forgive you and love you just the same as if it never happened. So, welcome to wisdom.
How about them apples?
How about them apples? That's right. One rotten apple does not spoil the bunch anymore.
Mm-mm. No, those are gone. Well, that's great. That's amazing news.
So good news for a Friday and lots of homework for all of you for a weekend.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you, Kim. Have a good weekend. Hopefully we'll see you back.
Good to see everyone. I hope you like the new whiteboard.
I love it. It's fantastic. Want to share news from UNN? Help us change the face of social media and use it for good. Connect with us through our online channels. Our social media team creates clips from each newscast you can easily share with people you care about. And that's also where you'll find our UNN meme of the day. It's a great way to encourage critical thinking. And links to all of our social media sites are available at the bottom of our new website at unitednetwork.earth. Let's change the face of news together. That wraps up today's news update. Please share UNN with your friends and family. We need everyone to come together and help restore our planet. When news happens in your area, record it and share it with us so we can help you share it with the world. Remember, if it's going to be, it's up to me. I'm Sunny Galt. Join us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the real news.